Good evening and welcome to March 20th, 1941. I'm Henry Chap, your host. I'll tell you what we're going to listen to tonight in just a little bit. If you enjoy the content on this channel, not only subscribe, but please donate to its upkeep. Because of the vintage old-time radio, films, and music that we feature, this channel does not qualify for YouTube monetization. Help motivate us to keep posting this wonderful content and seeking out more. We'd like to think that this channel is more interesting than any other nostalgia channel of a similar type. Help us keep going by donating. In the description section of this video, you will find a secure link to PayPal. Any little bit helps. Thank you for your support. If you love old-time radio, film, and music, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon to get notifications as to when a new upload will premiere. If you are interested in World War II as much as I am, check out our other channel, the World War II newspaper channel. Expand the description section to this video and you will see a link that will take you there. Now, I'd suggest listening to the latest upload to decide if it's your thing. Over there, you will hear the Chicago Tribune read to you for between 90 minutes to 2 hours. You will get a much more detailed look about what it was like to actually live through World War II than I can give you just by sharing radio broadcasts. You will not only hear detailed news of the big battles and historical events, you will hear trivial facts about the war. You will hear news from the United States home front from the early stages of U.S. mobilization and war protests to Pearl Harbor and the ramping up of the war machine to the final victories and reconversion. You will hear every facet of American life change forever. Tonight we have 3 programs to share with you. We have NBC News that aired at 7 in the morning. So this would be something that you would listen to while you were at the breakfast table getting ready for work. And then we have 2 primetime programs on NBC Red. Bing Crosby and the Kraft Music Hall and the Rudy Vallee Sealtest program both aired back-to-back. So you are getting 90 minutes of NBC programming during their primetime hours. On this Kraft program, the guests are Edward Arnold and Carrol Nash. Carrol Nash, he played... For those of you who know your radio programs, he played Luigi Basco on Life with Luigi. And on the Rudy Vallee Sealtest program, his guest is Marjorie Rambeau. So we have some, I love it when we can almost recreate, well, I love it when we can recreate in its entirety a primetime schedule, but it's pretty cool when we can recreate part of a primetime schedule. And, it's just pretty awesome. So, you know what? Sit back, relax. We are going to put the news on this old tube radio. That's our time machine. I see that dial is glowing. And then we are going to listen to the 2 NBC primetime programs. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. This is the 565th day of the war in Europe. Our staff reporters are waiting at their mics in England, Germany, and Washington, ready to give you the latest dispatches. First, the news in England. Go ahead, London.
This is John McBain in London. German raiders last night made their heaviest raid on London since the financial section was set afire on the last Sunday in 1940. The raiders came from all directions to rain down thousands of incendiaries and high explosives. An area of 30 to 40 square miles was lit up as the fire watchers fought the bombs and the flames. The bombers attacked in groups of 2s and 3s and dropped some heavy bombs. One street was virtually blown out of existence. Gas, water, and electricity lines were cut in the area most heavily bombed, and no buses could run in the district. One German bomber is officially stated to have been shot down. Outside London, little damage was done. British bombers last night made a heavy attack on Cologne. Railways and the Rhine Canal system were bombed, and pilots reported many fires. This was the 62nd raid on Cologne, where Germany has many armament factories. Oil storage tanks at Rotterdam were again attacked, and 3 aerodromes in the Low Countries were raided. All the British planes returned safely. Referring to reports that the Vatican is worried about the safety of Italian civilians in Italian East Africa, it was officially stated in London today that Britain is unable to guarantee protection for non-combatants deserted by retreating Italian troops. unless the Italian government makes a request for such protection as part of a general capitulation. The British will continue their humane treatment of prisoners, but can't be responsible for the excesses of irregular native troops, although the Emperor Haile Selassie has been asked to restrain his men from taking reprisals. However, there must be a lot of Italians in East Africa today who remember that when the Italian mechanized forces rolled through Abyssinia a few years back, Italian planes sprayed mustard gas on thousands of tribesmen defenseless against such warfare, who were blinded or died later in great agony. And they must wonder whether the Abyssinians remember too. Radio and press correspondents yesterday met Professor Noel Hall, who is going to the British Embassy in Washington with the rank of minister and the job of collaborating with Lord Halifax on all questions concerning economic warfare. During the war, he's been a directory of the Ministry of Economic Warfare here and is recognized as one of Britain's greatest experts on economics. He told us that he is going to Washington on the biggest humanitarian job that ever felled a man. He spoke of the decimation of Europe's young men in the last war and said the only way to avoid repeating this was to keep up firm economic pressure on Germany through the blockade. The new minister didn't say much about France, except that the British are willing to let in medical stores and children's clothing as long as it's carefully distributed by the Red Cross. But there isn't any doubt that British public opinion as a whole is extremely worried by what seems to them to be an attempt by some quarters in America to abolish the blockade, which is Britain's chief weapon. As the British see it, Vichy France and Germany are coming into closer and closer economic collaboration. At a time when the attacks of German U-boats based on French ports are threatening to cut British food supply lines, the average Britisher feels that the Vichy outcry about the British blockade is a carefully timed and German-inspired move. Most people here are wondering why there has been no Vichy public complaints about the huge food stocks requisitioned by the Germans from unoccupied France, and the fact that the Axis is continually taking as much as 60% of foodstuffs arriving in the French Mediterranean ports. Admiral Dallon's recent threat about convoying French merchant vessels from North Africa is seen as a skillful German attempt to get the French fleet into the war on Germany's side. If the French fleet does convoy these vessels, it is said it'll be guarding foodstuffs, much of which in one form or another finds its way to Germany. The British understand the humanitarian motives behind the desire to send food to France, but they feel that if France is short of food, there is only one country responsible. That is Germany. And they feel if the Americans, whom they naturally don't want to oppose, insist on sending food into France, it will strengthen Germany's position, draw out the war, and cost a lot of lives that could have been saved. The British position is all the more difficult because of the constant German infiltration into French North Africa. The other day, I had a long talk with a Frenchman of undoubted standing who has just reached London from Morocco. He said that hundreds of so-called German tourists have entered Morocco with Vichy government visas on their passports. He said that the official German Armistice Commission is busily engaged in laying out new aerodromes in various parts of the country. And he said the commission controls all aerodromes in the Casablanca region. German agents are said to be spending money freely and bribing native chiefs to turn against France. Moroccan troops captured in France were given special treatment by the Germans, and many are being sent back to do German propaganda work in their own country. This is John McBain in London, returning you to the National Broadcasting Company in New York.
You have just heard from our reporter in London. From the Associated Press, Rome. Italian troops were reported today by the Fascist High Command to be holding off British attacks on the Marta Pass northeast of Jijiga in Ethiopia. We now hear the news from Berlin. Go ahead, Berlin.
This is Charles Lonnie from Berlin. Today, the Germans claim that a monster air attack last night on London was the biggest and most destructive they've carried out since war started. In a clear sky, the Germans say that several hundred of their bombers, flying in successive waves, pounded the city with bombs of all calibers for 6 hours. The attacks lasted until early this morning, and more than 10,000 incendiary bombs alone are said to have fallen on the British capital. According to the German High Command, the areas around the harbors and docks got the worst of the attack. It's claimed that the Royal Victoria docks, the Royal Albert docks, the King George V docks, and the harbor area of the Thames Estuary bore the brunt of the mass bombing. The Germans declared that the destruction was particularly heavy in these districts. Factory regions northeast of the Thames Estuary came in for some wicked punishment, according to the high command, and ships along the river were hit. German pilots reported that they saw tremendous explosions in some parts of the city, and that fires started could be seen for miles. Other details are likely to be released later today. Earlier last night, the Germans are said to have shot down 3 British Spitfires in air battles off the south coast of England. One of Germany's flying aces is credited with 2 of them, scoring his 33rd and 34th air victories. No German losses are reported. The 4th British plane of the day is marched up to the German anti-aircraft batteries of North Africa. The RAF was over Western Germany last night, but the Germans denied that any damage was done to military objectives or industrial works. At sea, the German submarines are said to have added another 59,500 tons of enemy shipping to the already huge total of British shipping losses. Another 21,000 tons is reported badly damaged. Their reconnaissance bombers claim to have accounted for another 7,000 tons sunk and to have damaged 2 other ships totaling 10,000 tons. The Berlin political front is in the doldrums. The new Hungarian foreign minister arrives here tomorrow to see German Foreign Minister von Ribbentrop. But Wilhelmstrasse circles regard the visit as purely routine. It's not known whether or not the Hungarian envoy will see Hitler before he returns to his own country. And today it's officially announced that a reply to Hitler's letter to the Turkish government has been received. On the Wilhelmstrasse, it was said that the situation had been clarified. A question as to whether the clarification was in a negative or positive sense went unanswered. The most interesting feature in today's out-of-town press is an open letter in the Hamburger Fremdenblatt addressed to Mr. Wendell Willkie, who, you may recall, was called a traitor to his people, meaning the Germans, by Berlin newspapers earlier this week. The open letter is written by a German, a certain Peter Muller, who claims to have lived for many years in the state of Wisconsin, in Chicago, San Francisco, and New York. He said he liked the United States well enough until he saw a 4th of July celebration in Chicago, when, he says, fireworks were shot off, rubbish burned in the squares, and white and black men behaved like animals. All this had a strange effect on Peter Muller, and for some reason or another, he asked himself the following question, quote, what does a German mean to this country where he has fertilized the soil with his blood and labor for a century? Unquote. Mr. Muller, later the United States, hit upon a one-word answer. Quote, nothing, unquote. Then, after Mr. Muller has related his sad 4th of July experience and his conclusion, he writes that now Germans are asking themselves what the merits of the Americans are that they should be so well off. Do they care for what the Lord has given them so abundantly, it questions? No, claims Muller. They simply exploit the Lord's gift and throw the leavings away. Then the writer gets to the point with Mr. Wendell Willkie, and I'll quote from Mr. Muller's letter. Transfer 80 million Germans to the United States, Mr. Wendell Willkie, and they will make that country a paradise, unquote. Still addressing the late presidential candidate who incidentally lost me a $10 bet in election time, and who the Germans think ought to feel thoroughly ashamed of himself by now, Mr. Muller suggests that he read Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf and try to apply some of the book's reasoning to the United States. Muller is of the opinion that Hitler wouldn't even be angry if Mr. Willkie pretended it was his own idea. An American consular official was scheduled to see Dick Hotlet, young American newspaperman held in jail here on espionage charges today. This is taken to indicate the preliminary investigation of the case by the Gestapo is finished. This is Charles Lanius in Berlin. I now return you to NBC in New York.
And now Earl Godwin gives you his reports of developments at home from our newsroom in Washington.
Good morning, folks. Carry out what Charles Lanius was saying, transferring 80 million Germans to the United States and making a paradise of this country. You'd never find anybody here among the embassies and legations of those governments in exile that will give any okay on that. I'm going to say something a little more about that later if I have time, but Washington wakes up today with the feeling that the lease lend program is all set. The House having passed that huge measure with a 6-to-1 vote, as Sam Rayburn, the Speaker, predicted. The Senate committee gets the bill and go to work on it this afternoon, and we begin to hear tales of battleships to be built for our Navy, twice as large as any battleships ever built anywhere on Earth before. That's not a part of the lease lend bill, but is hidden under a mass of figures in the Naval Affairs Appropriations Bill, the one they're working on now, $3 billion for the conduct of the Navy for the next year and the new ships to be built. There are 5 of these huge super battleships, according to Representative Moss of Minnesota, who's a member of the Naval Affairs Committee, and they will run, he says, from 60 to 65,000 tons in size when launched and armed. The largest ship we now have is the North Carolina, 35,000 tons, and that's to be commissioned this spring. Another huge project is that St. Lawrence Seaway, which is okayed in an agreement between this country and Canada and is in the headlines and newscasts today and needs congressional approval, by the way. That seaway makes the St. Lawrence River a runway for ocean-going ships from our Great Lakes in the middle of our continent right out into the Atlantic Ocean via the St. Lawrence River. Make Chicago, for instance, a seaport town. And it is described here as a project second only to the Panama Canal. In addition to canalizing the St. Lawrence, there's a plan in the agreement for a huge power dam to generate untold amounts of electric power for use in the Middle West. The president calls this project a defense project. That is looked on here as a tip that he may think the war will last 4 years at least. No project, no dam of this St. Lawrence size could be brought to completion any sooner than that. At least so the Washington Gossip has it this morning. The Army is preparing for a second Selective Service Day sometime later this year, in the fall, I should say, to take care of the young men reaching 21 since last October. About 1.25 million boys have become men since last registration day. Incidentally, the Army officials say privately they do not contemplate stretching out the National Guard term of a year in camp. They would rather send the outfit home and train some more. And as to those Germans making America a paradise if they got here, the Minister of Norway is going out into the Middle West in the spring and carrying on a speaking tour between here and St. Paul and Minneapolis, telling the facts of the German invasion. He intends to be in Minneapolis in April. Earl Godwin says goodbye. That's the news from Washington at this time.
From Rome, we learn that hard fighting was said to be taking place in the Karen sector of Eritrea, with the Italians counterattacking despite previous losses and intense enemy air action. The Daily War Bulletin said fascist planes were taking an active part in the Karen battle, bombing British batteries and machine gunning troops and motor transports. NBC keeps you informed on ever-changing events in this ever-changing world. If you want to be among the first in the know, we invite you to keep your dial tuned to this station. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Stay tuned next for the Kraft Music Hall.
Crosby and Bob Burns with Connie Boswell, John Scott Trotter and his orchestra, and the Music Maids. Being special guests for this evening are Edward Arnold and J. Carrol Nash, two of the most popular heavies in the movies, and Cliff Nazaro, a student of modern English. And here's Bing Crosby. Casey would walk with a strawberry blonde,
and the band played on,
he'd glide across the floor with a girl he adored,
and the band played on.
but his brain was so loaded it nearly exploded. The poor girl would shake with alarm. He'd ne'er leave the girl with the strawberry curl,
And the band played on.
but his brain was so loaded it nearly exploded. The poor girl would shake with alarm. He'd ne'er leave the girl with the strawberry curl.
And the band played on.
In addition to shilling for Casey, the band is playing to welcome such Kraft Music Hall visitors as J. Carrol Nash, Cliff Nazaro, and Edward Arnold, who is at present giving one of the finest performances of his career as the unscrupulous newspaper publisher in Frank Capra's new film, Meet John Doe. It's funny that Ed should always be playing meanies when, in reality, he's one of the most charitable and considerate men in the screen colony. just goes to show what a fine actor is. For if he were to play himself, as so many actors out here in Hollywood do, any characterization of a newspaper publisher that he might come up with would be the type of tycoon who'd call all his reporters into the front office and say,
"Ladies and gentlemen of the staff of the Daily Dose, I know how inconsiderate it is of me to ask you to come into the office on Monday, but you may have noticed that for the last 2 months we haven't been selling any papers."
yeah, and as city editor of this rag, I can tell you why. Let me get some experienced guys on the Daily Dose. Let's get rid of some of these cheaters like this news reporter you got, this fella Burns.
Oh, Burns is a quaint old character.
Check. But he ain't got the faintest idea how to dig up news.
Oh, he must have. Everybody knows there's only one way to get the news. Isn't that so, Burns?
It sure is, Chief. Now, if you just tell me what that one way is, I'll go out and get the news.
Why, my dear man, all you have to do to get the news is turn on the radio.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Of course. It's as simple as ABC.
Yeah, but what's ABC?
Well, I'm really surprised at you, Burns. You told me you were an experienced reporter. You told me you worked on lots of rags.
I did. He even told me he worked on a sheet he owned himself.
Worked on your own sheet? You mean to say you published your own newspaper?
Oh, no, I do my own laundry.
Oh, that's very funny, Mr. Burns. Very funny. I'm sure the Bright Sayings of Children editor will give you $1 for that one.
Oh, no, he won't.
Oh, you've already tried to sell it?
No, but I'm sure the Bright Sayings of Children editor won't give me $1 for that joke.
Oh, how can you be so sure?
I'm the Bright Sayings of Children editor.
Now, you see why we ain't selling any papers?
Well, I should think people would like to buy the Daily Dose because I should think our papers would make people very happy.
What? With all those blank pages in them, how's a paper without news going to make people happy?
Well, haven't you heard? No news is good news.
Well, now, you ain't going to fire me, are you, Chief?
No, I never fire anybody on this paper. We'll just have to make a place for you. Now, let me see. Do you think you could handle the movie reviews?
Oh, I don't know nothing about acting.
You're telling me?
I could handle them movie reviews, Chief. Boy, I'm a real movie fan. As a matter of fact, my 3 favorite stars are Mary Miles Minter, Elmo Lincoln, and the Pearls of Pauline.
Is that so? You know, I like Anita Stewart, Earl Williams, and the Keystone Cops. But I'm like you are. I don't like the talkies either.
Talkies? What are they?
Wonderful, wonderful. You're just the girl to write our movie reviews. Have you ever written anything before?
Well, I once sent a story into the Truth Confession magazine. Oh, boy.
Did the editor accept it?
No, but he came all the way from New York to meet me. Oh, boy.
That's very interesting indeed. What you doing tonight, babe?
Listen, Chief. Let's settle down and see if we can't pull this house organ you publish out of the red.
Well, I'll do anything you suggest, Crosby. Anything within reason.
Well, can I at least slap a so long on that sports writer you hired the other day?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
You're going to let me go? After that front page story I turned in last night?
The man's right, Crosby. It was a wonderful story. We scooped the entire town. The Daily Dose was the only paper that even mentioned the aquaplane meet in the YMCA pool.
Aquaplane meet in the Y pool.
Well, Carpenter got the story.
Carpenter got blind.
Oh, yeah? I suppose if I was blind, I could have seen all those little bitty men with the green whiskers aquaplaning around the Y pool.
Yes, using tongue depressors for aquaplanes.
Oh, now listen here, Chief. That's the coldest corn in town. You're not sailing for this hooey that this...
Sailing for it? I was with him.
Oh, well, that's different. But just suppose, this is crazy, I know, but just suppose it turns out that there wasn't any aquaplane meet in the YMCA pool last night.
Good. Then nobody can sue us for describing it incorrectly.
That's right. But as long as the staff's taking bows, Chief, I suppose that wasn't just a yummy yarn that I got. You know the one on the political meeting at the Civic Center last night? Some stuff, huh?
Well, where is it?
Well, it's right here on the front page in a box. See? Under my regular heading, Harry Lillis at Civic Center.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Do they seem to like you down there in the Civic Center, Harry?
Oh, yes. I'm getting to be a very big man around the center. Look at this story here. Just take a look at this story. It's right here on the front page, Steve.
Let's see. His Honor Mayor Peter Potter Puckenbottom spoke before the parents of Ward 8 last night. He said nothing, and it took him 3 hours.
Nice, huh, Chief?
Yeah, splendid. Keep it standing. We could use the same story every time somebody makes a political speech.
Good. Anything else?
Yes. Where's that reporter I sent down to New Mexico to cover the Indian ceremonial dances?
Y'all mean me, boss?
Oh, yes. There you are. I didn't see you.
Oh, you need glasses, Chief.
Well, did you get the story I wanted on the Indian ceremonial dances?
I couldn't, Chief. I was plumb wore out. Honest, Chief, I was beat to my socks.
but I sure would have got that story for you if I hadn't been so tired.
You mean to say that you were too tired to get into Indian costume and mingle with the Indians during the ceremonies?
Yes, sir, boss. I was just too tired.
Oh, that's nonsense. How much work does it take to put on an Indian feather bonnet?
Not much, Chief, but I didn't want to be tarred and feathered. Now, there ain't that many feathers, Chief.
Well, now, I've had enough of the shilly-shallying. I want my newspapers to look like other California newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to have stories like other California newspapers. Stories like this. A hitherto reliable source close to an unimpeachable authority that refused to be quoted said today that there is positive verification of an unfounded rumor that peculiar never before seen in the vicinity of Southern California and was allegedly seen by an unidentified group of observers during the last 2 weeks. After causing considerable delay in traffic at various points and then mysteriously disappearing, it has been rumored it may be a new and potent defense weapon seen for the first time in Los Angeles.
Gee, Chief, what is it?
Rain.
Rain? Rain?
Yeah, you know, that stuff that makes the water that runs under the bridge run over the bridge.
You know, there's just one more thing I want to talk to you people about. I think the Daily Dose ought to have a South American policy, a good neighbor policy. Anybody got any ideas?
I know a Mexican speaks Spanish too good.
Well, I've got an idea, Chief. Suppose we start publishing a South American song every day. I know one I think everybody would like. It goes like this. A boy found a dream upon a distant shore. A maid with a way of whispering, "Si, senor." Each night guitar would softly play. The tune seemed to dance round the words that he'd say. I'm a Polar, my pretty little poppy. You're like the lovely flowers, so sweet and heavenly. Since I found you, my heart is wrapped around you, and loving you it seems to be a rhapsody. I'm a Polar, and my pretty little poppy must copy that endearing charm from you. I'm a Polar, I'm a Polar. How I long to hear you say I love you. I'm a Polar, little poppy, lovely flowers, so sweet and heavenly. I found you, my heart is wrapped around you, loving you. It seems to be the rhapsody. I'm a Polar, I'm a Polar, poppy, poppy, all its charms from you. I'm a Polar, I'm a Polar. How I long to hear you say I love you. Really I do. I'm a Polar.
That was very fine, Miss Boswell. I think the Daily Dose would really wake up if we had something like that in it.
Goodbye now, goodbye now. I thought the party was divine. I spent the evening forgetting the time. I can't deny. But now goodbye, goodbye now, goodbye now. Keep the trip by taxi wasn't far. We'd linger longer if we had a car. No use to cry, now goodbye. There's one advantage to our leaving. Brings about a special kiss. I hope that this will be eternity. A momentary parting, just a second, then we're starting. So goodbye now, goodbye now. It's just a moment and we're apart. To make it certain, I'll leave you my heart. But for now, goodbye now. We're apart. To make
Now the party was divine. This evening's forgetting time. I can't deny, but now goodbye. Goodbye now. brings about a special kiss. Hope that this will be eternally a momentary parting, just a second, then we start about. So goodbye now.
Bye.
Goodbye now, it's the moment we're apart. To make it certain I'll leave my heart. But for now, goodbye now.
There's one advantage to our leaving, brings about a special kiss. I hope that this will be eternally a momentary parting, just a second and we're starting. So goodbye now, goodbye now. It's just a moment and we're apart. To make it certain I'll leave you my heart. But for now, goodbye now. At present, working on 20th Century Fox picture, Blood and Sand, and being seen in full Technicolor with our colleague Don Amici in the 20th Century Fox film One Night in Rio. It's been nearly 2 years since that fine Irish gypsy Carrol Patrick Joseph Sarsfield Nash. For convenience on the marquee, they boil that down to J. Carrol Nash. As I started to say, it's been nearly 2 years since J. Carrol was last with us here in the old Kraft Music Hall. At that time, and I guess it'll stand repeating, we pointed out that Carrol Nash is the type of actor who's so handy with the crepe hair and the nose putty, and so adroit with dialects that even his best friends sometimes come from seeing a picture in which he's playing, wondering which one was Carrol. And to confuse people further, Carol's last name, Nash, is spelt the Gaelic, or the hard way, N-A-I-S-H. So when you hear people speak of the fine acting of a man named Naish, or Nash, or Nish, or Nahish, it's still Carrol. I guess I caught all the different mispronunciations of Nash, didn't I, Carrol?
Well, not quite, Bing. You missed one.
Well, give us a reading.
You know my friend Akim Tamirov.
Know him. Why, we only trooped together in the Moscow Art Theater for years.
Well, now, you know, I suspected that, Bing. But to get back to Akim, when I first met him, it was when he first arrived here several years ago. He had a slight accent. So after we were introduced, he insisted on calling me Mr. Ness.
Mr. Ness.
Of course, after a while, we got to be very good friends, and he dropped the mister and just called me Nets.
Well, now, you ain't Nets, Carrol. I want to tell you, I sure envy your ability to use makeup the way you do.
Well, you shouldn't envy me, Bob. That's a beautiful job you've got on right now.
Oh, that's me.
Are you kidding?
Honest.
Well, then what do you want makeup for?
Well, what do you want with it?
Well, not being recognized in some of the pictures I've played in has its advantages.
Ain't it the truth?
And not being recognized makes it possible to play a lot of different characters.
Well, if I hadn't been recognized in my last picture, I could still be playing the same character.
There must be a pipe for the 10%ers to peddle a guy like you, Carrol. All an agent has to do is find out what a casting director's looking for, and you're it.
Did you ever see a casting director who knew what he was looking for, Ben?
Oh, well, you can't discourage me, Carrol. I'd like to sell an actor like you. I think I might have a bit of flair for that sort of thing.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I fancy myself cutting quite a caper, following my card into a producer's office and having him rise graciously from his chair, come forward and shake me by the hand and say...
No casting today. Get out.
Oh. Now, wait a minute, Mr. Arnold. I got the greatest Russian comedian in the world here. I want you to meet Karolovich Neshki.
Oh, well, the face looks familiar. You say he's a comedian?
How are you going to doubt it after looking at that face?
I am a Russian comedian. Very sad.
Well, who wants a sad comedian?
American comedians make people laugh so hard they cry. No?
Some do.
I cut out the middleman. No laughing. Just crying.
Well, I can't use you.
Now, you're going to regret this, Mr. Arnold, and good day, sir.
And now that you've gone, Miss Boswell, take a letter.
Oh, I took a letter yesterday.
Well, Mr. Arnold, you are a lucky man. Just leave the door open and in I walk.
Even an opportunity knocks.
Very good, very good. Shake hands with the greatest find ever to come out of South America, Senor Carlos Nasharo.
Buenos dias, Senor Arnold. It's a great pleasure to meet such a big man as you. I see you are very big in North America. I am sure you would be equally big in South America, too. Well, now that I look at you, I can see you are very big man all over.
Say, haven't I met you someplace before?
Met him before, now don't be like that. This guy just rumbled in from Rio. And I brought him right to you because I knew you'd want to snap him up.
So what'd you do?
I speak 6, 8, 10 years I spend playing Carmen. And he asks me what I do.
You spend all the time playing Carmen, the opera?
No, Carmen Miranda.
Then you're not a singer.
I do not need to sing, amigo. I am a character. a berry from the hills. Down in Brazil, they call me, amigo, the South American Bob Burns. See? I play the bazooquero.
Well, that's not going to be any help to the good neighbor policy, I'll tell you that. Where did you learn to play that?
Well, I learned to play it from my grandfather, the famous Don Sebastian Miguel Pablo Hernandez Maria Palermo y Gonzalez Snazzy. You can use me, no?
No.
Come, we go. Adios, muchachos.
You know, it's too bad I can't use that fella. He's real good.
I don't get it, boss. If he's so good, why can't you use him?
Well, why should I be the one to pioneer giving audiences something good?
Well, Arnold, you're a lucky guy to be in, because I just got something off the boat from France that's going to run all the alleged American lovers right down a gopher hole.
What, you again?
Lucky for you, I want you to hear the work of Monsieur Pierre-Jacques Alphonse Charlot de la Neige, the greatest lover of the French stage.
Say, haven't I seen you someplace before?
No. Monsieur flatters me.
Show him how you can pitch a little woo, Charlot. Not too hot now. Just give him the bee treatment.
Ah, my sweet, my adorable, my wonderful one. There is no one in the world like you, Sherry. You are so beautiful. You are so smart, so clever.
Just a minute. Before I can tell if that's good lovemaking, who are you lovemaking to?
Me.
Now, just a minute. I'm not looking for any French lovers. All I'm casting today is a guy who can sing an Irish ballad.
Well, why didn't you say so? Shake hands with B.B. Nash.
Well, sure, it's a great pleasure to me meeting a fine man like yourself, Mr. Arnold, especially if you're going to be giving me a job.
Well, that depends upon how you can sing. Now, let's see. You say your name's B.B. Nash? What's the B.B. for?
Bobby Breen.
Go ahead, Nash. Start singing before he throws us out again.
There's a song that every Irishman and woman loves the best. Sure, it was not sung by Caruso, Teterazini, or the rest, but it's sung right straight out from the heart by sons of Erin's Isle. It's a song that makes the teardrops start across an Irish smile. You'll hear it at the cradle. You'll hear it at the grave. Wherever Irish hearts are true, beneath all flags that wave. And whenever Paddy hears it, he'll lift his old cowbeen. But it's a song that reaches Irish hearts. Now wearing of the green.
Oh, that's fine. That's very good. But do you know that fine old Irish song, Rose of Tralee?
Well, now, doesn't that take the cake, being the Rose of Tralee? He's asking me if I know the Rose of Tralee. Me who's got the lakes of Killarney in me heart, and an overwhelming love for the old sod surging through the very veins of me. And you're asking me if I know the Rose of Tralee. How does it go?
You know that one, Carrol. It goes like this. Listen.
The pale moon was rising above the green mountain. The sun up there was declining beneath the blue sea. When I strayed with my love to the pure crystal fountain that stands in the beautiful Vale of Raleigh. She was lovely and fair as the rose of the summer, yet 'twas not her beauty alone that won me. She was lovely and fair as the rose of the summer, yet 'twas not her beauty alone that won me. Oh no, 'twas the truth in her eye ever dawning that made me love Mary, the rose of Raleigh.
Thus, friends, the song goes so far back into the history of Ireland that it's listed merely as traditional.
You know, Dr. Crosby, I just saw something wonderful.
Anyone we know?
Oh, now, Dr. Crosby, that's not what I'm talking about. I just saw something that I really got a bang out of.
What do you mean you got a bang out of?
Well, when I say I got a bang out of something, I mean it made me feel, well, something like this.
Or vice president.
And that, Dr. Crosby, is what I mean when I say I got a bang out of something.
You know what they're saying around the gym? They say you once got a bang out of falling out of your cradle smack dab on your anterior fontanelle.
What's anterior fontanelle? What's that?
That's the soft spot on the punk's noggin. Now, go feel around for yours while I fumble through further Kraft music hall formadiddles involving Rambeau, Arnold, J. Carrol, Nash, and Cliff Nazaro. Connie Boswell and Andy Segrist and I have had a few requests to come around again with a Helvick Scott original called You Ain't Kiddin'. Even the slightest encouragement gets an encore out of us. Even the slightest...
Well, we had our ticks, so I ain't got no kicks, I guess. But since I took that rap, I had my happiness. No kick. Oh, yeah.
Don't she like how you talk all the wagging your wall?
She says I walk on the bias.
Don't she like the way you dress?
She just calls me a mess.
Well, she ain't kidding.
Why must you say what you say? She's got me wasting away.
Son, you could stand a little wasting around your waist.
Oh, believe me,
that ain't kidding.
Oh, boy, here we are, back at the rat killer. Hey, Bob. Hey.
Yeah.
What do you call that? What's that?
Oh, Bing, that's my new theme song.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that is announcing Bob Burns and the sweetest music, the other side of the hip.
Well, why? Well, you're at an announcement you announce that you're also available sweet stage, screen, radio, and meat market openings. Put that in.
Bing, you just threw that in to be mean.
I did not.
Yeah, but listen, you can kid me if you want to, but I ain't doing so bad.
I ain't kidding so good either.
Well, the other night... Listen, night before last, I played at the opening of a drugstore, and I got 65 cents an hour and all the pills I could eat. Now then, there's only one thing, one favor I want to ask of the people visiting in the hall tonight. Please don't talk while I'm giving my piano recital. Because some of the things I hear don't make me feel any too good. Do you know that the last time I gave a piano recital here in the hall, there was a nice-looking couple. They were sitting right down there. And right in the middle of my piano solo, he took a little bottle out of his pocket, and he handed it to her, and he says, "There, dear, there's only 2 more aspirins left. You take them." And she says, "Well, darling, that wouldn't be fair for me to take the last 2 aspirins." And he says, no, go ahead. You take the aspirins out of the bottle and give me the cotton. You know, I can't get my mind on my music just worrying about Ed Arnold. The idea of him starting in the newspaper business, I wonder if he knows what he's in for. That's a tough business. If he wants to learn something about the newspaper business, let him go down to Van Buren and talk to my newspaper uncle. That's my Uncle Arthur Brisbane Hink. That's his name. He used to publish the Argus. That is before, of course, Hugh Park bought it. And the Argus is a big paper now. They're publishing it. They're printing it on both sides of the sheet now. But this uncle, at the time he had it, he did everything. He knew the newspaper business from A to Izzard. And he not only wrote all the editorials in it, but he was the first newspaper man to publish a column called Helpful Hints for Housewives. He was the first. He had a column there that was just full of original recipes. He was the first man to tell the housewives how to make an omelet for 14 people out of one egg and a bicycle pump. And not only that, Uncle Hink was the first man to start a scandal column in his newspaper. And he did all the work himself. He wrote it himself. I was there in all man the morning he went on to call first assignment. He's put on his hat and he says, well, I'm going out and get some material for my scandal column. And when he got to the door, he turned around. He says, well, goodbye, boys. I'll be back in a flash with the trash. And you know, 3 weeks later, he comes staggering back in the office, and I'm telling you, he looked so wore out and dejected. He went over and slumped down in his chair, and he says, there ain't going to be no scandal column. He says, it keeps you on the go too much. And I says, well, what's the matter, Uncle Hink? And he says, I'm telling you, I just run myself ragged. He says, the first keyhole I tried to look through was on a trailer. And so then he cut out that. He didn't publish that scandal column, and so he put in a column called Embarrassing Moments. And he used to pay $1 for every one of those things that come in. And I'll never forget this morning, I went to him with a letter. I says, here's a man that wrote in. He says that his most embarrassing moment was when he caught another fella kissing his wife. I says, you want me to send him $1? And Uncle Hink says, no, I want to be fair about this. He says, you better send him $2. I figure the other fellow was embarrassed too. Well, now you told him things to do. He made a lot of mistakes, but he only made one little mistake all the time that he was in the newspaper business. And that was one time when, I don't know why I'm telling you, right at one time when a woman suffrage was that comes to Van Buren to give a lecture. And she took an ad out in Uncle Hink's paper, and she told him that the title of her lecture would be Woman. Without her, man would be a savage. Well, sir, next morning when he come out with that big ad in big letters, I thought them women would kill him just because he just made one little mistake in punctuation. Instead of it saying woman, without her, man would be a savage. It says, woman without her, man would be a savage. You know, I think Uncle Hink reached the height in his newspaper career when he started this crusade against crime there in the paper. And he had a slogan there. He had a slogan that says, a slug for every slug. For every thug, I mean. And I, you know, like all good newspaper men, I could always find him right in the thick of all the trouble. And I'll never forget this day that this bunch of gangsters swooped into Van Buren in a big high-powered car, and they pulled up in front of the bank, and with drawn machine guns, they rushed into the bank, stole all the money, And they come out and jumped in the car, and with them machine guns blazing away, they tore out up Main Street as hard as they could go. And when he was putting her out of sight, Uncle Hink come peeking around the corner of the bank. There wasn't a soul on the go, except there was one old man with a long gray beard. He come peeking around along in a wheelchair. Uncle man over jumped in a wheelchair with the old man. He pointed up Main Street. He says, "Follow that car." Well, now, like all good newspaper men, Uncle Hink, too, had his little eccentricities. And that's what I'm leading up to tonight. You probably wondered. But you know, Uncle Hink, he just loves to dance in the mud with his bare feet. And tonight I'm going to show you how Uncle Hink sounded when he was dancing in the mud. Now you'll remember at the last part, Uncle Hink gets stuck. And I'm going to accompany him on the piano. I just hope I don't get stuck too. Now,
we leave Burns now. We leave Burns beating his pants in the mud and come now to a new song. A song called My Mind's on You. John Scott, if you will. My mind's on you. But what can I do the whole day through? I'm thinking of you. The things I ought to know, I soon forget. All I remember is the day we met. When people pass ask me what's new, I tell them all that your eyes are so blue. My friends keep saying this will never do, but when they're through, my mind's on you. People pass and ask me what's new, I tell them all that your eyes are so blue. My friends keep saying this will never do, but when they're through... Brother Bob's forthcoming film, Rookies on Parade. But after all, as Cliff himself said to me a few days ago, there's more to life than getting laughs.
I always say that when I'm not getting any.
And there, friends, is proof that Cliff is something of a philosopher.
Fatalist.
Well, at any rate, it's neither as a master of double talk, nor as a philosopher, nor as a fatalist that we welcome Cliff to the old Kraft Music Hall.
Maybe I'd better go now while I'm still on the upbeat.
Oh, no, Cliff. The latch string's always on the outside here for such composers as yourself. Nor am I toying with the truth when I say that your symphonic concerto, which you allowed us to introduce here in the hall a few months back, is still bringing us a constant flow of letters from music lovers anxious to know your whereabouts.
They're still after me, eh?
Kidding on the square, Cliff. We got a lot of mail about that composition. Even though this evening you're turning to opera, we pray that it doesn't mean that you have completely forsaken the writing of symphonies.
I'm afraid so, Bing. The symphony feels too crowded. Too much competition in the symphony writing game.
Oh, come now, Cliff. Surely you're not afraid of such Johnny-come-latelys as Stravinsky, Sibelius, Rachmaninoff, and Grunberg.
Those guys? No. I'm not afraid of them. But when it comes to writing symphonies, what chance have I against Mickey Rudy?
Well, what chance has anybody got against Mickey Rudy?
Anybody who knows goes bingo.
I declare I think Rooney can do everything except play the bazooka.
Well, that exception alone could make him popular.
Well, if you don't mind my saying so, Bing, I think Cliff's symphonic concerto is a very worthy work.
Ah, there's encouragement, Cliff. Eddie Arnold's a real music lover.
I'd like to buy the original manuscript of that composition.
He's a real music lover, all right.
Oh, no, that's not fair, Bob. I heard Cliff's work, and I think it's fine. In fact, Cliff played it for Carrol, Nash, and myself, and Carrol liked it too, didn't you, Carrol?
Well, of course I did, Ed, and listening to it, I saw dancing in front of my eyes all the little people of the Emerald Isle.
No, it's a funny thing. I didn't see it like that. When Cliff played, I saw the great rolling surf crashing against the rock-ribbed coast of Maine in front of my eyes.
When I heard it, I saw spots in front of my eyes.
Well, how could you see the surf, Ed, when the man was writing music about the little people of Ireland?
Oh, you Irishmen see the little people on everything. That music was obviously descriptive of the surf beating against the coast of Maine, wasn't it, Cliff?
Well, I'll tell you what I had in mind. You see, when I wrote that composition, I felt that I'd take all the authors and put them horses separately and let them come in and horses separate when they're bringing out the type of music separate horses separately when they had the cavalry sailor meet it.
Yeah.
Just wanted to trace the stubborn. I could have just as well railed it or put them in the case. But I just want to praise the hunters to Carrol to be not the types of the user. They're very strong.
Funny thing, you know, that's just how it struck me.
I still don't quite get the picture.
Neither do I.
Well, you see, you have to visualize. Now, you take Bob. Bob said he saw spots in front of his eyes. And you said the thing in today with these composers, if you see something that forces straight, well, who does your laundry?
Yeah.
People today with sort of race come in and more decide the type of music they have. And operator says, well, fellas like Stravinsky, LaVoss, we have to go on and place out the type of music with the rates and bring out the little people who to play them awesome right. So I visualize bringing out the cipher of the tilt, the ball.
You got it now, Ed?
Yes, why, certainly. It's merely a matter of objectivity. I mean, for those who prefer to see what happened, well, you take it just as it is. Now, what's the difference?
Well, on the other hand, Ed, think of the pregaglio diminuendo that creates a mood that is or is not in itself. And on the other hand, well, you've got to take the bitter with the gin. Isn't that so, Cliff?
Say, Bing, don't look now, but what in the world are these two jazzers gabbing about?
I have no patience with people who talk ambiguously. Still, they're easier to understand than the idea of one man singing the sextet from Lucia. Why do you do it?
It's a living. And I find it easier to sing a sextet than a solo, because when I sing a solo and make a mistake, everybody knows who it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm singing a sextet and then I make a mistake, who is it?
Let me see if I can tell. The sextet from Lucia, sung by Cliff Nazaro.
Qualche parte se recuerda de quel sapore della guardia quel cuore che muore si deve di cuore e di voce queste forze sempre trepli di voce questa persona sempre stanno in prete claramente di voce di verdi di fare di questo di fare di
That's fine, Cliff. Contrary to any subsequently formed opinion, that was the sextet from Lucia. Lucia can have it back, too.
Not my arrangement.
Well, you can keep that, Cliff. But here is a lovely thing, friends. Connie Boswell singing It All Comes Back to Me Now.
It all to me now. A summer
starry sky, or laughing you and I alone. It all comes back to me now, a sea of midnight blue, your face uplifted to my own. We called it a thrill of the moment, and laying up above, we didn't know what the glow meant. We never dreamed it might be love. It all comes back to me now, the love I threw away, and now each lonely night I pray that it will all come back to me someday. We called it a thrill of the moment, and blamed the moon up above. We didn't know what the glow meant. We never dreamed it might be love. It all comes back to me now, the love I threw away, and now each lonely night I pray that it will all come back to me
Beautiful, Connie. Very, very lovely. I'm sure that was something that'll endure long in your listeners' memories. But if we're going to endure, though, let's hope there's a little space left in their memories for something like this.
Have you discovered what a treasure Velveeta is to have in the refrigerator? With this cheese food on hand, you're ready for practically any menu emergency. It's Velveeta children's snacks because Velveeta is rich in milk protein and milk minerals. It's an excellent source of vitamins A and G, and as digestible as milk itself. But let's take another situation. Say the Joneses drop in for bridge. Lucky the lady who has Velveeta in the refrigerator. She can whip out some smacking good toasted sandwiches practically while her hand is dummy at the bridge table. Or maybe she'll decide to regale the guests with a Welsh rarebit. Smooth melting Velveeta turns the trick in the double boiler easily. Or perhaps you're stuck for a dinner dessert in a hurry. Well, just slices of Velveeta and crackers and a little fresh fruit will be perfect. You see, everybody loves Velveeta's rich yet mild cheddar cheese flavor. And that's one reason why so many clever women buy the thrifty 2-pound Velveeta loaf. They keep it on hand all the time for cooking as well as for snacks. Kraft also packs a half-pound package, too. So stock up tomorrow on helpful, delicious Velveeta.
nice treatment of Polichinelle, Scotto. Then you treat all those things tastefully. Let's see if you still have your touch with a modern ballad, something like May I Never Love Again.
May I never see the sun go down. May I never feel the falling rain. If the love that I declare isn't all that's right and fair, may I never love again. May I never see the blue of the sky, or the moon and stars down Lover's Lane. May I never live a day if I don't mean what I say. May I never love again. Sweetheart, when I'm with you, I'm not a foolish pretender. Sweetheart, if you love me too, all I possess I'd surrender. May I never feel your tender lips. May you never take my love in vain. You're the answer to my prayer, but if your love isn't there, may I never, no, I'll never love again. Pretender, sweetheart, if you love me too, all I possess I'd surrender. May I never feel your tender lips. May you never take my love in vain. You're the answer to my prayer, but if your love isn't there, may I never, no, I'll never love again.
That's got to get it till next week at this same time, when over and above such regulars as Robin Burns, Constance Boswell, John Scott Trotter and Group, and the Music Maids, our friend Don Amici is going to be on hand, as well as George Murphy and Eddie Bracken. That's a lively group of gents. So till next Thursday, adios.
The Kraft Music Hall comes to you from Hollywood's Radio City.
Stay tuned next for the Rudy Vallee program.
The Sealtest system of laboratory protection presents Rudy Vallee with John Barrymore and as our special guest, June Prizer and Tugboat Annie herself, Miss Marjorie Rambeau.
I'll give you a smile for a smile, a song for a song for a while. I'll give you a heart for a moment sublime. Right from the start, we'll have a grand time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rudy Vallee welcoming you to another Sealtest program. Tonight, John and I have booked ourselves for a return comical cinema character, Tugboat Annie. And to assure romance, we bought a ticket for cute and vivacious June Pricer. So up with the gangplank men as Tugboat Annie sails into society. Tugboat Annie, married to John, how they do carry on. 'Cause our John has plenty of money, life is sunny, and they're rolling in riches. It is really quite uncanny how the blue bloods love our Annie. All the 400 group is a rootin' and tootin' for Tugboat Annie, that rough, tough, sea-going gal.
As our story opens, which is practically a necessity, we find that a great change has come over Tugboat Annie and J. Ironsides Barrymore, for they are now man and wife. And instead of living on Annie's tugboat, they've both moved into the palatial mansion of the wealthy shipping magnate Barrymore. At the moment, Annie is snoringly asleep in her luxurious boudoir.
Oh, Madame. Madame, you're snoring. Wake up.
Hoist the anchor and swab the deck. What boat is this?
Oh, Madame, this is no boat, and you are no longer Tugboat Annie. You are the wife of Jean Barrymore.
Oh, tell me 'tis a nightmare.
Oh, no, Madame. It is true. You are Mrs. Barrymore.
I'll take the nightmare. And who are you?
No, I am Ceci, your maid, and I am laying out the clothes that Madame is to wear today. What shall it be? Riding habit or the breakfast smock?
Riding habit, breakfast smock. Just lay out me overalls and me sweatshirt. I'm going to grind the valves on the town car. It's got a knock like Barrymore's knees. Hey, what do you think you're doing?
I am putting perfume behind Madame's ear.
Perfume? Behind my ears? Say, how do you expect me to smell it back there?
Oh, no, Madame. The perfume, it is to please your husband, Monsieur Barrymore.
Well, then put it behind his ears.
Oh, Annie! Annie! May I come in, me gorgeous guppy?
Come in. Come in, my matinee mackerel.
Good morning, Annie, me little lovebird.
Morning to you, you little old buzzard.
I'm here to beat Fifi. Bonjour, Fifi. Je t'aime.
Ah, scram, you French fried female. Ah, John, sometimes I wonder if you really love me.
How can you question me, love? Didn't I marry you and bring you to this fine mansion? Didn't I carry you across the threshold in me strong arms?
You did not. I carried you.
All right, so you're stronger.
Ah, John, dear, forgive me for being so sharp with you. I'm so worried about my son, Rudolph.
Rudolph? I've been a good stepfather to that lazy campus cut-up, haven't I? I've given him everything money could buy.
Sure, and money means nothing to my son, Rudolph.
What did you say?
I said money means nothing to Rudy Vallee.
Annie, don't you think you better lie down?
I'm serious, John. Your riches is making my boy Rudolph so lazy that he needs a special man to wait on him hand and foot. Now to think that I would live to see the day when Rudy had to have a valet.
Oh, Major. Oh, Peter. Are you there?
Here comes Rudolph Genau.
Hello, Major. Greetings, Step-Peter. I am fatigued. Really, I am. 15 games of hopscotch.
I don't blame you for being tired if you played 15 games of hopscotch. I get tired on 6.
I think I'll fling myself on the chaise longue.
Well, if I had you back in my tugboat, I'd fling you, and it wouldn't be on no chaise lounging either.
Why, Mater, whatever do you mean?
Son, I think I know what your mother means, even if I am only your new stepfather. She thinks you have become a shiftless wastrel, a spineless nincompoop, a lazy, good-for-nothing, girl-crazy nitwit.
In short, son, you're a chip off the new block.
Well, then, it should make you very happy to know that I'm no longer going out with this girl and that girl and any girl. I have found a girl, the girl. In fact, we're engaged. Really, we are.
Ah, now I'm so happy to hear that. And what's her name, son?
Her name is June Picer. I call her Junie Wooney. It's sickening, but she loves it.
Something tells me I ain't got no right to be happy.
Oh, you love Junie, Mater. She's so cute and so athletic. Why, she can walk on her hands.
Ah, now ain't that something? A hand-walking wench.
Oh, pardonnez-moi, madame, but Mademoiselle Junie Wooney wishes to see Monsieur Rudy Woody. Shall I show her up?
I'll show her up. You just show her in.
Oh, Rudy Tooty. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Oh, hello.
Junie, this is my Mater.
Oh, I've heard so much about you. Tugsy, Wugsy.
Oh, Tugsy, Wugsy, suffering catfish.
Isn't she cute, Mater? She's a society deb, you know. She just came out last week.
Well, if she's seen her shadow, chase her back in again.
Oh, I just adore this room. Oh, my, and where did you pick up that beautiful antique?
I didn't pick it up. I married it. That's my husband, John Barrymore.
Oh, Mr. Barrymore, I feel like I'm already your daughter. May I call you Popsy, Wopsy?
You do, and I'll kick out your teethy witty.
Now, don't be hasty, Annie. The gal is pretty. And after all, don't forget. Well, it's in the script. Don't forget, she can walk on her hands.
Ah, sure, that's wonderful. Now imagine coming home after a hard day's work and finding the little woman prancing around the kitchen on her hands. Oh.
She'll probably get dishpan feet.
Well, I don't care what you say. I love my Junie, and I'm going to marry her.
Now listen, my son. Marriage is a serious proposition. Would you take this girl for better or for worse? In sickness and health? To love, honor, and obey?
I do. Oh. Excuse me, Annie. I'm getting so absent-minded. I'll see you later.
Now listen, son. For the sake of your self-respect, you should at least have a job before you get married. Why, you don't even know a trade.
Mater, are you overlooking my singing voice?
Deliberately.
I think my Rudy Tooty sings too real cutie Woody. Sing to me, Tutti Fruity.
Phooey, what a cutie. You are far too wonderful for any single heart alone. My darling, you should be set to music for all the world to own. The lovely words you whisper to me should be written down and played. My darling, you should be set to music for your number one on my heart's hit parade. My darling, you should be set to music for your number one on my heart's hit parade.
Oh, Rudy, that was beautiful.
Thank you, dear. Well, toodaloo, Mater. I want to show Junie our house.
Sure. And don't forget to show her the cellar. And don't tell her there's one step missing.
Bye-bye, Tugsy Wugsy. Soon you'll be my Mumsy Wugsy.
Mumsy Wugsy. Oh, if I'd only stayed on me old tugboat. Mumsy Wumsy. That mushy gusher.
So the call of the sea is proving too strong for Tugboat Annie, And speaking of calls, here's one you'll be finding mighty hard to resist in a few months.
Strawberries, fresh picked, ripe, juicy strawberries, strawberries, strawberries.
Doesn't that make you wish the berry season was here so you could sit yourself down to a heaping dish full of big, juicy strawberries and thick, rich cream? Well, you can do even better than that right now.
Right you are, Lou. One of the most delicious strawberry treats in the world is waiting for you at Sealtest ice cream dealers. It's Sealtest ice cream strawberry pie. Smooth, creamy vanilla ice cream forms the crust of this luscious pie. Colorful whipped cream adorns at the top. And nestled between those ice cream crusts is a thick layer of juicy, red, ripe strawberries. Yum, yum.
There's a treat to make any meal a party, and any party a success. It'll only be here during March, so try it real soon, won't you? But be sure you get genuine Sealtest ice cream strawberry pie. Now a word about another March ice cream surprise, Butterscotch Royale. It's a tantalizing combination of cool, creamy vanilla ice cream and real old-fashioned butterscotch. How you'll linger over every spoonful of that candy-flavored ice cream. Ask for Butterscotch Royale in the new red, white, and gray Sealtest pint package. We'll tell you shortly where to buy these treats in your neighborhood.
Annie? Annie! Ah, there you are. What are you doing in those baggy old slacks and that horrible sweatshirt? You look like Bing Crosby at a formal party.
Now, John, these old clothes are a part of my plan to stop that society June bug from stinging me boy Rudolph.
Even so, my dear, a woman of your social position should be wearing a gown with a train.
Not in your life. The last time I wore a dress with a train, somebody stepped on it and, by golly, wrecked my caboose. Now, John, don't you realize that this June prize package is only making love to Rudy to get your money?
Couldn't we eliminate the middleman?
Now, if you weren't a rich man, John, she wouldn't be interested. So we'll pretend that John Barrymore has lost all of his money.
Pretend, she says.
Now, here's my plan, John. We'll make out life... Now, wait a minute. I'm all mixed up. We'll make out like we've been forced to go back and live on our old tugboat, the Narcissus. And when that little old gold-digging society smell sees Rudy on my dirty old tugboat, she'll give him the air.
On that tub, he'll need it.
But, Junior, you don't seem to understand. My step-pater, Mr. Barrymore, has suddenly lost all his money. I am impoverished. Oh, but utterly.
Oh, I bet Rudy Woody is just fooling Junie Woony.
Oh, it's all too bitterly true. I am impoverished. Oh, but utterly. Already I've been forced to pawn my doeskin riding breeches.
You pawned your breeches?
Yes. I got an advance on my pants. Really, I did. I'm going back to work in my father's tugboat. Farewell, my sweet.
No. I still love my tuggy-luggy.
You mean?
Yes. We'll both go back to the tug.
The old tug Narcissus, back to the tug. Go Annie and John. Yo-ho-ho, they must say Rudy. Yo-ho-ho, Rudy to it. Go back to the tug. Annie sees her duty. Back to the tug and the light at sea. Yo-ho-ho, they must say Rudy. Yo-ho-ho, Rudy to it. He fell in love with little Junie Woony. He fell in love with the baby bear. He fell in love, but Annie thinks she's loony. She must save Rudy from that little scare. Yo-ho-ho, she must save Rudy. Yo-ho-ho, yo-ho-ho, yo-ho-ho. Rudy to
Rudy, me boy, step into my cabin for a minute. I'd have a few words with you alone.
Certainly, mater.
Ah, Rudy, my son, I'm asking you for the last time. Will you give up that giggling Gertie? Your place is with me, son, by the sea.
But, Mater, I don't like the sea.
You don't like it? Now, what could be better than standing at the wheel with the waves a spraying your handsome face and the wind a blowing and the rain a beating down on your curly head? Now, what more could you ask for?
An umbrella might help.
Ah, what a way for a man to talk when he comes from a long line of seafarers. Why, someday you may get to be the captain of the Narcissus.
I, the captain? Oh, how utterly.
I can close my eyes and see the boat coming down the river now, with you, the captain, a lord of Ashcan and Rudy Vallee.
Mater, you might at least give me top billing.
Then you'll do it, son, huh? You'll stick to the sea and forget that little gooey girl?
No, Mother, I can't. I'm a landlubber, and I'd love to land Julie.
You wouldn't cross me now, would you, son? You wouldn't do anything behind me back.
I don't know, Mater. That covers a lot of territory.
Ah, John, my idea has failed entirely. I'm worried sick that my darling Rudolph is going to marry that girl.
Well, suppose he does marry her. People do get married, you know.
Yes, I know, and you know. John, I don't think that you like my boy Rudolph.
Don't say that, Annie. I feel toward him just as if he were my own son. Yes, just as if Rudy Vallee were my own son. What a horrible thought.
I must say, you've been a good stepfather to him, John.
It's true. Since he's been in my home, I've worked out his problems with him, just as if he were my own boy. Only last night I sat down with Rudy and had a heart-to-heart talk with him about life.
You did? And what happened?
He told me plenty.
Well, John, my mind's made up. I'm going to get Rudy away from the clutches of that society siren, even if it means that I have to leave you.
What?
Yes, John. I'm going to keep my boy with me here on the tugboat. And maybe someday, I'll come back to you.
But when?
When I've made a real man out of Rudy Vallee.
You mean you'll never come back? Annie, I can't let you do this to our love. I'll save your boy. I'll get rid of that butterfly female in typical Barrymore fashion.
Ah, yes, but how will you do it?
I can't tell you. It's a trade secret.
Oh, John, will you really do it? Will you save our Rudy?
Absolutely. Here's my hand. I'll shake.
I know you'll shake. But will you save Rudy?
I will. Gangway, matey. Barrymore beguiled again.
In a moment, we'll know John Barrymore's plan. But first, suppose we tell you where to buy those thrilling Sealtest ice cream treats. Here we go to all of those communities where Sealtest milk and ice cream are sold. Ready? On the poop deck of the Mudscow Narcissus, silhouetted against the ash cans, stand the two figures of lovely June Preiser and lover Rudy Vallee. Isn't it romantic? You betcha.
Oh, Rudy,
Foxy, Junie.
Isn't this lovely?
June, I'm awfully worried. You see, Mater doesn't think you're the right girl for me.
Why doesn't your momsy-womsy like measy-weasy?
The way you talksy-walksy drives her nutsy-wutsy. She says it's an affectation, and only a dope would like it.
But you like it, don't you, Rudy?
Yeah.
Oh, Rudy, I do love you so much. Just listen.
I can't hear anything.
Can't you hear my heartbeat?
No, but I can hear a downbeat.
I'm a itsy-bitsy girl in love with wonderful ooh. I want to pitch a little woo. And the reason is ooh, ooh, ooh. I got a itsy-bitsy heart and only dreams of you, ooh. And the little things you do. Oh, how about a kiss or two? Don't you think that you could learn to care just a teeny, teeny, weeny? Don't you think that you could learn to kiss, but I'm afraid you'd be a meanie. I'm just a itty-bitty girl in love with wonderful ooh. I'll wait until you say I do. If you held me in your arms, I would feel so weak and swoony. Give a little girl a break and kiss your Junie Booney. Oh, Mr. Barrymore.
Good evening, Step Pater.
Rudy, my boy, I'd like to have a few words with your young fiancée alone, if you'll excuse us.
Very well, but don't try and date her, Pater.
Beta, schmater, you know your mater.
See you Schlater.
Now, Miss Price, I want you to be frank with me. Are you really in love with Rudy?
Oh, Mr. Barrymore, I'm so much in love.
Don't you realize that Rudy no longer has a cent to my name? And besides that, my dear, he isn't the man you need. You need a man to appreciate your delicate charms. A man of the world. A man well versed in the subtle art of romance.
Oh, Mr. Barrymore, that's a perfect description of Rudy.
Rudy? Piffle, you have a lot to learn about love, me pretty child. And lucky you, I'm just the man who can teach you.
Oh, goody. Perhaps when we're through, I'll know more about lovemaking than Rudy.
Who doesn't? What you need is a man who could take you in his arms like this and say, fly away with me on gossamer wings to a soft-scented rose-laden bough. The hell are you laughing at? When the goddess of love... Well, the goddess of love... Never interrupt me in a scene like this. Well, the goddess of love will shelter and serenade us with the dulcet tones of her lyrical harp.
Oh, how beautiful. What does it mean?
Is there an interpreter in the house?
Why, for a minute, Mr. Barrymore, it sounded like you were making advances to me.
Me? Take advances to you? You, my little dove. My precious little pigeon. Do you think that I would make advances to a fragile little creature like you?
Why, Grandpa, what few teeth you have.
That is beside the point. What you need is a man who can crush you in his arms and kiss you like this.
What's going on here? Why, you lop-eared, turkey double-crossing, low-down groundhog.
Pardon me, June, I am being paid.
But, Mrs. Barrymore, you don't understand.
I don't understand, don't I? Why, you blonde, baby-faced barracuda.
But, Mrs. Tugboat, your husband was trying to teach me something about love. He was just giving me the first lesson.
Well, from where I was standing, it looked like a postgraduate course.
Annie, listen to me.
Don't talk to me, you blubbery old mud turtle. I'm through with you.
You can't leave me, Annie. It'll make a wreck out of me.
The improvement will do you good.
Pater,
Mater, what's going on?
Oh, Rudy Woody. Plenty's going on, me boy. I've just caught my Barrymore trying to kiss your girl.
Why, the cat.
Tell me, Paramore, is this true? Speak to me. Speak to me as one man talking to another.
We're a little short-handed, ain't we, Bud?
Oh, I am undone. I am undone.
Don't take it so hard, son.
Rudy, you don't believe all this, do you?
Oh, I am undone.
Wait, my undone son. Annie and I were only trying to discourage this delightful little wren from marrying your son, Rudolph.
Well, you have a funny way of discouraging. However, if that's the way you feel, I'll forgive you. Now, I don't want my son to marry a debutante. Tugboats and society don't mix.
Mrs. Tugboat, I have a confession to make. I'm not a society girl at all.
You're not?
No, I'm not even June Preiser.
You're not?
No. I'm really only plain Petunia Pumpernickel. The daughter of Ignat Pumpernickel.
No, not all Ignat's Pumpernickel. The poor but proud Pomona Plumber.
The same. Well, I guess even Rudy won't want me now. I'll go.
Halt. Hark. June Preiser or Petunia Pumpernickel, if you want me, I am yours.
A divine spirit, me boy. What's the difference if the name is June Preiser or Petunia Pumpernickel, as long as her name is June Preiser?
Right you are, John, right you are. Bless you both, my tootsie wootsies.
You're not angry with me, Rudy?
June, darling, I don't care what your name is. I love you for what you are.
And, Rudy, I love you for what you are. By the way, what are you?
Well, by the way, Mater, what am I?
Why, Rudy, my son, you're,
When it gets around to me, have I got an answer for that?
Carrol, Annie, she can't read or write, but give her a fight. And she's rough, she's tough, and she's ready. She's steady as the rock of Gibraltar when she shouts, heave-ho, sailor. Every garb and every whaler will break his back to his best when he's put to the test by this rough, tough, sea-going gal. Next Thursday, John and I are putting neon lights on our welcome mat and blowing a fanfare at trumpets to herald the arrival of one of the cleverest comedians of our day, that gallant gentleman of guffaws, Groucho Marx. We hope you'll all be around to help us greet Groucho. So until next Thursday, this is Rudy Vallee reminding you to look for the red and white Sealtest symbol when you buy milk, ice cream, and other dairy products. Au revoir and good night.
Marjorie Rambeau appeared through the courtesy of Warner Brothers Studio in the character of Tugboat Annie, originated by Norman Riley Raine. Miss June Preiser appeared through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures Incorporated. Sealtest Incorporated and its member companies are subsidiaries of the National Dairy Products Corporation.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
That's the way it was on March 20th, 1941. Some cool radio programs there. You know, it's fun recreating these radio schedules for you. It just is a really good time. Anyway, I'm Henry Chop, your host. I'll tell you what we have coming up tomorrow night in just a little bit. If you enjoy the content on this channel, not only subscribe, but please donate to its upkeep. Because of the vintage old-time radio, films, and music that we feature, this channel does not qualify for YouTube monetization. Help motivate us to keep posting this wonderful content and seeking out more. We'd like to think that this channel is more interesting than any other nostalgia channel of a similar type. Help us keep going by donating. In the description section of this video, you will find a secure link to PayPal. Any little bit helps. Thank you for your support. If you love old-time radio, film, and music, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon to get notifications as to when a new upload will premiere. If you are interested in World War II as much as I am, check out our other channel, the World War II newspaper channel. Expand the description section to this video and you will see a link that will take you there. Now I'd suggest listening to the latest upload to decide if it's your thing. Over there you will hear the Chicago Tribune read to you for between 90 minutes to 2 hours. You will get a much more detailed look about what it was like to actually live through World War II than I can give you just by sharing radio broadcasts. You will not only hear detailed news of the big battles and historical events, you will hear trivial facts about the war. You will hear news from the United States home front from the early stages of U.S. mobilization and war protests to Pearl Harbor and the ramping up of the war machine to the final victories and reconversion. You will hear every facet of American life change forever. Tomorrow night is Friday. Yes, Friday, March 21st, 1941, though. And because it's Friday, it is pretty much Adventure Day on the radio and on the screen. We do share Chapter 11 in The Green Hornet Strikes Back, a movie serial. Then we go into the after-school adventures, and we have The Lone Ranger, The Adventures of Superman. Then we have a new one that we will hear off and on, The Adventures of Frank Carrol. Then we have Mandrake the Magician and Information Please. And the guests tomorrow night on Information Please are Roland Young and Deems Taylor. So please come back. I think you will have a great time with some wonderful Friday night listening and watching. Until then, let's turn off this old tube radio. That's our time machine. Good night. God bless.
This changing world, this changing scene, where is it taking us? What does it mean? As long as we're certain of each other, we know we don't have to be afraid. These changing times we rise above. We have no time for them. We have our love, and love is the only thing that still remains the same through all this change.